What's up, survivors? My name is Sunny, and today I'm bringing in a full in-depth video of all the major changes coming in State of Decay 2 Update 25. This is, of course, bringing in the new Plague territories, the new Outposts, the new sidearm swapping feature. We'll also take a closer look at all the new skill changes, trait changes, and even acrobatics, and all the other little things in between that we've seen in this beta. Keep in mind, the patch notes have not released yet. There's probably going to be a lot more little things that we don't know about, but in the meantime, we'll go over all the major points changing in Update 25, and guys, there are some huge changes. If you haven't already, subscribe as I cover all State of Decay 2 and 3 news, as well as guides, live streams, and playthroughs. So to give you guys a reference of mind of how much time I've put into this beta, I've played at least over 250 hours with Update 25. Most of that was spent in Lethal, with a nice chunk in the green zone as well. And the game has changed pretty radically in my opinion. The biggest thing has to be the new Plague territory mechanic, as that is the headlined feature, and it is the biggest change coming into the game by far. So when you start a fresh map, either through a new community or you move into a new area, the majority of the map you're in will now be engulfed by this red mist, and all this red mist is the new Plague territories. And a couple of things are actually happening here. The mist is completely controlled by the plague hearts in the area, and the only way to get rid of it is to destroy those hearts. Not only that, but it's pretty dangerous to go into plague territory because every single Zed and Freak is 100% filled with blood plague. So the game radically shifts from just staying alive and blood plague just being a nuisance to literally being the main mechanic to avoid. I lost 3 characters in total this beta, where I had previously never lost a character before, and I also never died to just my health dropping, so all my deaths were because of blood plague. And blood plague now is the central focus because now you're mostly dealing with blood plague zombies and freaks with the plague territories. Another key thing to note is you will not be able to claim any outposts or bases inside these territories, and at times even information is limited when you look at the map on what is happening in the buildings, especially if they are within plague territory, or especially if they have a plague heart inside them. So you will have to clean out the plague hearts one by one to free up pockets of the map to almost loot cleanly. In Lethal, because these plague territories are so dangerous, I actually never loot in them. But when I was playing in Green Zone, it wasn't that type of serious situation. But in Green Zone, you still can't claim any bases, so you still want to clear out the hearts, and you're somewhat forced to, even in the Green Zone. Now, some buildings will be under plague territory and claimed by several hearts. So this isn't the case where you destroy 1 or 2 and you're good to go. If they are literally in the middle of a plague area, you could potentially have to destroy all of them. Now, for instance, in my playthrough here, the New Hope Church Landmark Outpost is really good, and I really want it, but I have to destroy 6 plague hearts surrounding it to claim this outpost. So on a strategic level, your entire playthrough will change, and it's going to actually take considerable planning to figure out how you're going to survive. The last thing that I'm going to mention is when this update does go live and you get to experience the new plague territories, you'll either have to start a fresh community or go to a new map, which you can now do if you have at least a level 2 command center, or you have to change the difficulty and reset the map that way. Either way, I'm guessing if you're already on Lethal, you might need to change maps altogether, but you will not see the new plague territories unless you reset the map somehow, so just for the record. With that, let's jump into now the major outpost changes, and to me this is the second biggest change in the game, and it's an important one because my feel is that with the new plague territories, it has increased the difficulty passively in the game, since you can't claim whatever you want at any time. But with the new outpost, it's here to help alleviate some of those issues, because now you can take a regular outpost like a food or meds and increase the level of that outpost up to level 3, and as you do that, it's going to increase the amount of that resource you get. So for example, I can grab a food outpost and it's going to give me 2 food per day immediately, but if I level it to 2, it gives me 4, and then if I level it to 3, it gives me 6 food per day, but that amount does increase per level. For the record though, this is at Lethal, and it might be different at Green Zone as to how much resources you get. But if you do try to level an outpost to level 3, it does take 2,000 influence and materials to get there, so they did make it pretty hard to get it to full max level. And all these changes apply to all the other types of outposts as well, like the materials and the fuel. Now all of them do go up in level and also give more of that same resources, so this is really good stuff. Not only that though, depending on which outpost you choose in the world, all of of them now have skills that can teach your survivors something new. For example, at a clinic, you can teach a survivor medicine, or at a feed store, it'll teach you gardening. A restaurant will teach you cooking, or if you go to a water tower, it can teach your survivor utilities. And I think you get my point. You no longer need to grab a book to teach survivors new skills. You can finally use those same outposts to level the skill in question. So overall, these regular outposts are pretty much infinitely more useful, which is awesome. But that does bring us to the new landmark outpost, and I'll talk about each of them, as every map has one unique outpost that can be really helpful to your game. In Cascade Hills, you have the Leeds Concrete. This provides no upkeep costs to your buildings, so you won't waste materials, and from your choice, you choose what to spend to activate it. So you can use 2 labor, 200 influence, or 50 parts daily. Then we have Meager Valley, and the windmills there, they're going to provide power to your entire base. Again, this is for either 2 labor, 100 influence, or 50 parts daily. Keep in mind, previously it would take 2 fuel per day to maintain power, so this is an alternative. But the more interesting landmark outposts come in Drucker County here at Sasser Regional Hospital. Here you only get 1 med per day, but the big thing here is you get the choice here of community-wide 10 max health or negative 10% injury severity, which in my opinion isn't that great. But the most important and most valuable with this new update is the plus 30 infection resistance, which helps with not getting blood plague. So Sasser becomes very important in this new update if you end up playing in this map, and it becomes a must-have outpost in my opinion. And then we finally have my favorite outpost of all the maps in Providence Ridge, and the reason for that is because it's such a versatile and unique outpost, and I feel this one was just done right. This one provides 3 different options, and they're all pretty different. The ability to have plus 4 beds and a morale boost when the zombie threat is low, but provides a penalty if the threat is high, so that's pretty cool. The second choice is a morale boost by just using labor, and snacks also increase stam and morale as well. I think that's pretty neat. And finally, my favorite of the 3, and this one is super useful, Rooftop Sniper and Rooftop Recon radio commands, and you get to use labor to reduce zombie threat. So this can be huge and lethal and in the new plague territories, and a lifesaver, especially with those 3 feral attacks that I consistently get like every few minutes. But either way, these outposts have been well done in general, and it's cool to see, and they are unique to each map, so they're all very different. And it might be something that you plan ahead in terms of which map you want to visit, because you want to use the extra help that these outposts can provide. So really cool stuff and really cool to see. But we also got some big changes to combat in this game, and one of them is a game changer in full sidearm swapping. Now you can equip a main weapon, being for example a assault rifle, sniper, shotgun, whatever, but also carry a designated sidearm like a pistol or SMG or one of the smaller shotguns. You can really customize and have a plan with your weapons now. You no longer are stuck to just one gun. So for example, something that I like to do is roll with that multiple shot crossbow in my main hand for a silent weapon, but in my offhand carry a magnum pistol if I had to take out a feral or something that needed a lot of punch. You can even reverse this, go with a silent sidearm, silent pistol, and then a heavy loud machine gun. There's really a lot of ways to now customize the way that you want to engage in combat. Of course, you also have to weigh in how to carry your ammo and things of that nature in your limited inventory space. The cool thing though about this new feature is they simply just use the extra space in your bag, so no extra space is going to be used from what you're used to. This has been a lifesaver for me in general, especially on characters who haven't leveled up in any gun proficiency and it takes a while to reload. Just simply swapping has been amazing. Another combat related mechanic change was to acrobatics. You no longer do an automatic roll when you dodge, it's only when you hold the run button. Now you can do normal dodges to fight off zombies, and then when you need to do the barrel rolls and that more calculated movement, you just simply hold the run button and press the dodge button while you're holding it, and now you do a full barrel roll. So it's great to see that acrobatics is essentially a lot more useful than it was previously. And finally guys, you can see there's a ton of new changes coming this way with State of Decay 2 and how the game plays, but Undead Labs has also tinkered with things like traits and skills, and essentially what they've done is they buffed a lot of things. Some things are now almost, for me, must-haves and things that I look for. For example, they changed auto mechanics. When you have full proficiency and you have it leveled all the way, you can now get something something like 25% fuel efficiency and 50% vehicle stealth. This is community wide now, so the entire survivor group that you have gets it, and that is huge and makes for almost a must-have in lethal and things of that nature. And it's an awesome buff because before it was only for one character. Then if we keep scrolling through this page here, you can see a lot more skills have essentially become buffed and are more useful community wide, which is important. Another one that I want to highlight here and makes for me again almost a must-have in lethal or higher difficulties is pathology. This is a skill that you get when you go past medicine and you choose one of the two skills, and when you get full pathology you get 50 plus 50 infection resistance community wide. Also, you can extract plague samples and stuff that you need to continue to survive. Keep in mind again guys, plague territories are all about blood plague now. Continuing though, we see even more skills like hygiene, and this one is one of the ones that's in my current community because that plus in 50 infection resistance community wide and max health community wide is just really good. And the list here just goes on in regards to buffs. A lot of these skills before that weren't really useful at all or were completely useless now have some meaning and are not one of those that you just get rid of out of your community if they're in there. I'm gonna have a link to this page right here for reference, so you guys can go ahead and use this page to figure out what you want to do and which survivors you want to keep in your communities. And finally, there's some other small changes as well, new trait effect changes, and keep in mind the game has so many traits in this game. I mean, it's 1,000 plus, so I think we might need to wait for the patch notes to really see the full changes here. But overall, as you can see, update 25 has really made the game a lot more different. Blood plague is now the central threat, and you will be somewhat forced to fight off plague hearts if you want a clean map and a clean way of looting, even in the green zone. But overall, I have loved the changes to the game. As I said on the onset, I have over 200 hours and I'm still very addicted and enjoying it. But I admit the changes to the game really bring a real sense of danger and threat that wasn't there before. With that, there is a lot more little changes I didn't highlight, so stay tuned for another video once the patch notes go out and I get to see that in its full entirety. But that marks most of the main things coming out in update 25. As always, if you're new, subscribe and join a fast growing community. Also hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and comment below if you like the new changes to update 25 to State of Decay 2. I'm Sunny, and as usual, stay safe survivors.